you tonight. So tonight, I want to encourage you all to be willing to lose the moment. I know I probably don't have a future as a motivational speaker, but please hear me out. Tonight we're talking about the power of we, and there's a big difference between a healthy we and an unhealthy we. For instance, the Senate right now, they're a we, they're one entity, but right now I'd say they're functioning as an unhealthy we. It's not that we can't disagree with one another, it's about how we disagree. And when we're functioning as an unhealthy we, I think we're limiting our effectiveness, what we're able to do. But this is easy to identify. We can look all around our world and see this. All you have to do is tune into the news for a night, go to a political rally, check Twitter, listen to the gossip that happens around church, and you can identify many unhealthy we's. It's much harder, though, to diagnose why this is happening, and then also say, how can we fix this? Because if I collapsed on the stage right now and had blood start coming out of my mouth, you all would hopefully notice there's a problem. Trust me, I really hope you notice there's a problem. But it would take medical experts, it would take tests, it would take time to diagnose what's wrong with me and also find a solution to help me get better. Thankfully, Caleb did a great job suggesting one thing I think can help with this issue, but I have a humble suggestion tonight as well. And that is, many times we only see this moment. We only see what is right in front of us, and we get this tunnel vision, where we think we have to win this moment above all else. We have to seize the day, or else we're being unfaithful. And when we have this mentality, that's when we start acting in strange and uncivil ways. We start doing things that we wouldn't normally do. And if you're taking notes, write this down. If we treat this moment as the end-all be-all, we'll be willing to end all of our standards and be all sorts of horrible things. Again, if this moment is the end-all be-all, we're going to end all of our standards and be all sorts of horrible things. And granted, if this moment is everything, then yeah, go at it. Do whatever it takes to win. But I think most of us would agree there's more. There's a little bit more than this tunnel vision that we develop. So if you could go to the next slide, I think we need to transition our mindset instead to have a grand narrative focus, which is what the Bible is, right? It's a grand narrative. It's a story outside of just one moment. So first, I want to start with our past, to go back there for a moment and recognize the assumptions we're bringing in to the debates we're having, to the issues that are at hand, and see how they're influencing us. And 3 different ways I want to talk about our assumptions. The first being our assumptions about the person. And I'll start with myself. In the time that I've been up here already, you all have made some assumptions about me. It's okay, I try not to be offended. But you might have assumed that I enjoy public speaking, which you'd be correct on. From a young age, I got to see my dad as a pastor, and I watched him get to influence people and share God's truth, and I loved that idea. So that'd be a correct assumption. But many of you probably didn't assume that I played football in high school. It's okay, I am offended at that one. But no one has ever guessed that. No one has ever met me and been like, Logan, you played football, didn't you? I can tell. But the thing is, the experiences that I had through football, the lessons that I learned, the friends that I made, the way that the Cleveland Browns are my hometown team, even though I'm not in Ohio, I still feel connected to back home through football. And I text my dad and sister after every single game. That's a big part of who I am, but you might not have made that assumption. So that's why it's important to ask questions. Get to know someone's stories. Because you hear identifiers such as Democrat and Republican, Christian, atheist, and Muslim, and you have assumptions come in your mind about that person immediately. But a person will always be much more than a title. They're a story, they're a person with a past. Take time to get to know who they are, because sometimes you might be sadly disappointed. Other times, though, I hope you're pleasantly surprised. The second type of assumptions that I want us to evaluate are assumptions about terms. Because you cannot assume everyone is defining a term the same way that you are. You might actually agree with people you think you disagree with because of how you define your term. So for instance, if I say Liberty University's new mascot is a crane, you all just had an image pop in your mind of a crane that can build a really tall tower. Most other people around the nation probably would have been like, oh, they're transitioning from one bird to another. That's because of our past. That's because of our assumptions and experiences that we're bringing into a moment. So we need to look at those, because I've heard people talk about social justice, And as the third party, I was like, they agree with each other. I can tell they do. But because they had different definitions of what that meant, they thought they disagreed. They thought they had an opponent as opposed to an ally. And the third, do not assume the person across from you is your enemy. That person is made in the image of God. Our enemies are things such as pride and temptation and sin and certainly Satan and his demons. Russell Moore, the president of the Ethics and Religious Liberties Commission, said that when we don't oppose demons, we will demonize our opponents. To be fair, you can't live without assumptions, I know that, but I want us to hold them with an open hand. To be willing to bring in new information, as Caleb talked about, check our motivations and truly seek truth within them. Because assumptions are needed sometimes, but hold them with an open hand because, for instance, you think it'd be smart to build on-ramps for a highway, but here we are in Lynchburg, Virginia, and I think we all know that's not true. So if you want to get around safely, keep that one with an open hand. But then after looking at the past, we also need to look to our future as well. What are we hoping for to come of this situation? Because what we hope for will guide what we do. It's very closely tied to our motivations. So what do you hope for when you're engaging with someone you disagree with? Do you hope to prove them wrong? Do you hope to see them fall publicly so the whole world can know that you're right? Or do you hope to reflect God in this moment? Do you hope that truth prevails? Do you hope to see God's kingdom come on this earth as it is in heaven? And do you hope that this person may come to know God a little bit more through this interaction? Recently, some of the guys in my hall went up to DC for the Kavanaugh nomination. And while they were there, a picture was taken of them and posted on a page of college Republicans. And a couple hours later, it had been taken by a meme account and captioned, "America, meet your future rapists." And as an RA, I was angry. Because it not only spoke to what that person was assuming about them, that the person they disagree with on the other side, yeah, those people are all rapists. But also showed that they didn't have a hope. They weren't hoping for reconciliation. No matter what their views are on that stance, they weren't hoping for a better tomorrow. They thought they were going to continue down whatever path they disagreed with at that moment. And that makes me genuinely sad. So that's why I think we need to hope for a better future. Love the person across from you and hope for them to see God and for God to be glorified, not for you to be proven right. So now that we've checked our assumptions and reevaluated where we're at, we can step back into this present moment. Because I hope by now you can see it's not everything. We've looked at our past, where we come from, our assumptions. We look to the future, what we want to hope for. But to be fair, I do also want to make a disclaimer that moments are important. God has placed us in this moment for a reason. He has given you the relationships you have for a reason. But I think as opposed to victory and winning this moment, our emphasis should be on faithfulness. So free yourself to lose the moment by the world's standards. Because when we free ourselves to lose the moment, we also free ourselves to engage in a Christ-like manner, as opposed to doing whatever it takes to win. Because we know there's far more than this present moment. Now we can step back and engage in a way that honors that person and their dignity, and also honors the Lord and what He's instructed us to do. My final encouragement is this: look beyond the moment. Be willing to lose the moment if winning it requires you to act without gentleness and respect in a way that does not align with what we've been taught throughout Scripture. So look to your past and see that Christ died for you and that person that you disagree with. Look to the future and see that God is coming again, and every tribe, tongue, and nation will fall before the throne and worship Him. And that just may include the person that you're currently disagreeing with. In fact, I hope it does. Thank you.